We did it. We've teamed up, and together we've created something special. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network, and we're changing the game. We're covering Idaho high school sports in a way that you haven't seen before. Together, we'll be providing weekly breakdowns and recaps while helping uncover Idaho's top talents at a deeper level. Trust us, you want to be part of this. Boise Sports Talk, EBC Media, and the Game Time Guru bring you Gym Session. Let's get to work. What's up, everyone? Welcome back out to another episode of Gym Session, brought to you by the Idaho Underground Sports Network. My name is Shane Larson from the Game Time Guru podcast, alongside AJ from EBC Media and Ty from Boise Sports Talk. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network, bringing you the coverage that you want to see. Listen, guys, follow us on Instagram. We appreciate everybody who has already followed us. The feedback and the engagement has been insane. I think I speak for all of us when we're just super grateful for everybody who's jumped on board and has supported us. Share it with your friends and family. We're here to provide you coverage that you haven't seen before with Idaho high school athletics, and I think we're doing that. I know it sounds biased because we're part of it, but just based on the feedback and the engagement, definitely believe that we are making a change. But just if you haven't already, follow us at Idaho Underground Sports on Instagram. That's where we're doing the majority of our coverage. So first things first, I'm going to say this again. If you guys have questions for us, anything about sports coverage that you want to have us cover, let us know. DM us. We're sitting there. We're conversing with you guys. Those who have already reached out to us on our DMs, we'll hit you back. So we're all about the players. We're all about the fans. Make sure to let us know if you guys have questions or suggestions, if you will. Let us know. We're here to help you out. We're here to provide the best sports coverage possible and make it fun for you guys. All right. So this is going to be a fun episode. Last week, I'm in Orlando, Florida. I'm going to preface this with that. So I was in Orlando, Florida. I was working a work event, and Friday night, I'm like legitimate bummed. Like I've got some FOMO, a fear of missing out, because AJ and Ty are out there covering these games, and it's like Eastern Standard Time, so I'm 2 hours ahead of everybody. I'm dead tired. I'm working this event. I had to get up at 6 the next morning, so I was like, and that's Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Boise time. So I was super tired, but I'm sitting here like going through my phone on Idaho Underground Sports, just checking the updates, because AJ and Ty are just killing it with the updates. And Ty's over at the game of the week, and that was Meridian versus Eagle. And I go to bed. It's like a 13-point lead for Meridian. And I wake up to our group chat that we had, and first thing I saw was a notification of Malakai was now had a second loss as a starting quarterback. And I'm like, whoa, what happened? So here's where we get to break down the Meridian versus Eagle comeback in the game of the week recap. But Ty was on site making friends over at Eagle High School. He's got, like, everybody loves Ty, the 6'10" redhead that's walking around. But now Ty gets to break it down for us. So Ty, give us a rundown of what you saw, because I was so surprised. So I want to know what it was like being there real time.
Absolutely. So, AJ and I, and along with Austin Bolt, we picked a spicy, what most would consider an upset, I would say. I mean, it was three seed versus 4 seed. Meridians looked really good. Their defense has been stellar. We went with Eagle. In the first half, Meridian jumps off to a big lead. And this was in large part due to some weaknesses that we've seen from Eagle in the past, where they shoot themselves in the foot in the first half. We have, fumbles on special teams. You're giving up big returns. The little things that put you out of a game early, right? Meridian was able to capitalize. They jumped off to a 17-point first half lead. But as we've seen from Eagle already this year, their offense is so polished, and they at no point during the game did they look bad offensively. They were just doing the little things that shot them in the foot. They drove the ball down the majority of the field. They fumbled the ball on the 2-yard line. Like, it either went out of the back of the end zone, or they recovered. I couldn't quite see on that one. So they had an opportunity to score that would have put it within 10 to 20 going into halftime. So the game was never really out of reach for them, and as we see by the final score. But you come into the second half, I think Malakai must have been on a snap count, or he re-aggravated his shoulder injury. So we saw Zeke get the majority of the reps, which to me, you're not falling off either way with one of those guys. I mean, it's 1A, 1B there at Meridian. But they came out. Meridian was not aggressive. They didn't move the ball well. they were taking deep shots, but it wasn't a methodical approach. They didn't really build anything up. They were feeding cross in the first half, but come second half, kind of went away from that for whatever reason. And for me, he's been one of the most stout backs in the league. You look at him statistically, and that's apparent, but his ability to get 5 yards on any given carry it's been fun to watch. I think we've watched him, 4 or 5 times now at this point, or 3 or 4 times, and it is literally it's 5 yards a carry, and he does it for the majority of the game. He wears defenses down, which they went away from that in the second half, and to me that was their downfall. But Eagle took advantage of it. They were smart with what they were doing. They didn't go away from the run. They played their game, and that was the difference in this one. They played their game for the entirety of it, while Meridian, I don't know if they felt good with their first half lead, whatever it was, came out ultimately flat in the second half, wasn't able to stop Eagle. The final drive is one that I'm going to remember for a really long time. Benson to Donovan Jones, 3 straight plays. I'm surprised Jones didn't end up scoring the final touchdown. Roy Hull ended up punching it in. But the 4th and 15 play that Benson connected to Donovan Jones, across the middle of the field, 3 defenders on him. He goes up high for it. Baby Gronk status in full effect. Super fun to watch. These guys went in, made a statement, and made us look good with our picks. I'll tell you what.
Made some of us look good with our picks. I'm still salty.
Homer.
I'm still salty. I'm a homer, but I was also trying to look at it from an unbiased perspective.
That was honestly that was the toughest game to pick this year. We picked it, but as I said it, that was the first time I actually made that pick. So that was a tough one to call. No one was going to be, you were wrong, but it wasn't a bad choice to pick Meridian in that game.
Okay, I like that. You were wrong. Way to throw the right hand after the jab on that one. Here's the deal. I was watching that final drive, like you mentioned, that play, that 4th and long, super. There was 2 4th down conversions, if I'm not mistaken, in that last little spurt that they were clutch. That 4th and long, though, I bet if you're Meridian, you're sitting back and you're kicking yourself for a while on that. And not to mention, as I was watching the replay, the replay was on social media. Can't remember which page it was on, but the replay was on there. Not only was that a great throw and a great catch, but there was a wide open receiver in the flat running out to the sideline where I think it was either a linebacker or a safety was way late getting out there. So there were some options there.
He went with his go-to guy.
Dude, he was looking and he just went for it. He didn't hesitate. And that's what I wanted to touch base on. It's the limited amount that I was able to see, but I was able to look at that. That shows that Eagle has playmakers, and that's scary as you get close to the state tournament. You're getting close to tourney time, right? You want playmakers, guys who are not scared of the moments, guys who aren't scared of the spotlight. You're down by 17. You're coming in. Final drive of the game. It's still not, you got some momentum, but nothing's guaranteed. 4th and long, throw it across the middle of the field. You got to catch that and take a hit. You do it. You've got playmakers who aren't scared of the spotlight. I think that's huge. AJ, what are your thoughts on that game? Even though you weren't at that one, what are your thoughts on the outcome?
Picked Eagle. That was a tough one, like Ty was saying, but ultimately, man, I know that's a tough place to win, but I don't think people realize how good Eagle is and how good the top 4 is. I think all 4 of the top 4 at this point, in my opinion, I think it win a state championship based on matchups and health and whatnot. But Eagles got 4 of the top 12 tacklers in the league in White, Ball, Makita, and Jones. And then Benson is top 10 in rushing and top 5 in passing. You've got Duarte and Donovan Jones, who I think are the best receiver combo in the league. I would take those 2 over any other duo. And there's a lot of good duos, Walk and Castillo, Riley and Thacker, or Riley and Acree, when those guys are healthy. And then the running game just seems like next man up at this point, because Roy Hull had a game. He played well. And so he's going to be able to step in for Martino, depending on how long he's out, which Martino did for Makita. So, their offensive line needs a shout out, right? I know that's
100%.
100%. And then they punched in the last one. That was clutch. And so I just don't think people realize how good Eagle is. I hope this helps. They should have beat Mountain View at Mountain View. I think Ty and I talked about that. My feel was that Mountain View they find a way to win. They find a way to close. They did it against Meridian the same way they did it against Eagle. I was surprised that Mountain View pulled that game out. But, Benson is impressing me weekly. I've got to see him play once. Cannot wait to see him play again. He's fun. But I think Donovan Jones right now is showing everybody that he, and, shout out to Quentin Riley. But right now, Donovan Jones, for me, is the biggest weapon maybe in the SIC, along with guys like Hunter Stecker and, Antonio Fafita. But, I was surprised that Eagle came back and won that game. That's the second time Meridian has allowed that to happen. Meridian, for some reason, I'm starting to notice the first drive after halftime defensively, they seem to give up points. Is just kind of a recurring thing. But man, I'm excited to see where both these teams go from here. I think Meridian needs to get healthy. I think Eagle is getting healthy. They need to get Martino back. I don't know the severity of that, but both these teams are really good. And both the Martinez brothers are very good. I think Malakai Martinez, we talked about it before. Malakai Martinez, at some point, his leadership and just his aura was going to need to come into effect. When he went out, we saw the game change. Zeke still played well. He was efficient, but against a big game on the road against a team like Eagle, who I think is actually underrated, I think they missed that in the second half, closing the door. But both these teams are really good, and I wish I would have been there.
Yeah, I'm bummed I wasn't there. What keeps coming to my mind is the health factor. You guys have alluded to it already. The health factor of Meridian. They're thin. They're thin at the receiver position. They have more than capable receivers still filling in for what's going on there, but they're thin. And so, yeah, you got to be healthy and you need that leadership. And that is now, they keep saying, like, we've been talking to some of the Meridian guys and just other fans around the valley that have said, well, that's 2 losses by a combined 2 points or whatever it is, right? Like something like that. And they're saying their thing. And I'm like, well, that's what Kellen Moore used to say at Boise State, 3 losses by a combined, 5 or 6. It was like really low amount. But I'm like, but those losses ultimately kept him out of playing for big games. And that's just the reality of it. So that's cool and all. That's called a moral victory. Oh, like we only lost by a little bit. But that's the difference between a team like Meridian and maybe a team like Mountain View who's closing games out when they have to do it. It might not be pretty. They may not be the best team on the field that night, but they end up winning because they figure out a way to do it. If I'm Meridian, I'm looking to get healthy, and I'm looking to execute in the second half. AJ, you said something I wanted to touch base on. Even in that Capital game, Capital storms through in the first drive of the second half, which could have changed the momentum of that game. Granted, they fumbled at the 2-yard line. Huge hit by Corbin, right? So Corbin hits him, fumbles at the 2-yard line, but they drove right down their throats. It was like they couldn't stop anything until they got to the goal line. Boom, they get a fumble, and then they come back and score. Other than that, if they would have scored there, then it's a game. Capital has the momentum. We got 2 full quarters left of the game. So that was something that I noticed. And then again, this happened again. And it's just like, man, they keep giving up these leads in the second half. Mountain View, same thing against Meridian. So Eagle, all credit to them. I'm actually super excited to see if they can take this momentum. I was curious to see how they were going to respond to their games against Rocky and Mountain View. Like, how do they respond after those? They responded against Meridian. That was a tough stretch for them to have to play those teams. They responded against Meridian. Now, how do they respond going into next week? They've got this momentum going. Can Eagle keep it up as we get ready to go through the next half of the season? Now, we're going to talk about our hidden gems. We got some players of the week that we want to talk about. Somebody that I was super, the last 2 weeks, I've just been super impressed with this guy. I want you guys to break it down for me, though. You guys have actually, you guys know more about this guy than I do, and I'm trying to learn more about Parker, but I know I said, how do you pronounce his name? And what position does he play? And Ty said, well, just remember his last name, it's Rushton. So he rushes a ton. He's running back. He's got carries. This week, I'm looking at the stat line here, 44 carries, 269, and 3 touchdowns. Holy crap. So let's talk about Parker Rushton. I'll let AJ start with that one with his thoughts on him for this week's Hidden Gem Player of the Week from Idaho Underground Sports.
Well, shout out to the first ever back-to-back Player of the Week in Idaho Underground Sports Network history. I want to see this kid play. That's my response to that is back-to-back over 200-yard weeks. I think 3 touchdowns both week, or maybe 5 touchdowns one week, and 3. Is that right, Ty? Yeah. Yep. So averaging 4. Yeah. Yikes. And I actually posted on him last night on our story, and I tagged Bradley Toth, and Bradley Toth reaches out to me and goes, why stop running the ball when you can't stop the run game? And with a smile. And I was like, dude, I love that when teammates got each other like that, doing the shout outs. And we've talked about it before, but I want to go see Borah play. I'm excited to get out and see this kid play. Bradley Toth is one of the top playmakers, receivers in the league. He could end up being the receiver of the year in the SIC. Rushton is all of a sudden, I think number 3 in the league in rushing. when he wasn't even on the list 2 weeks ago. So they found another weapon. All of a sudden, Borah feels like they're getting better weekly, which I think we just said last week. And now all of a sudden you've got maybe the top receiver, maybe the top running back. All of a sudden we got the New Orleans Saints in the house, right? We got Michael Thomas and Kamara, and those are two dudes that if you have to focus your game plan against. So I want to see Corbin McCartney play. I want to see what he's got defensively. I know they've given up a lot of points. Do they all of a sudden have the firepower with Rushton and his ability to, what it looks like, control the game by himself? Are they going to all of a sudden come in and be a factor in the middle of the pack and knock somebody at the playoffs and move into a spot? And then all of a sudden you got to stop one of the top rushers and one of the top receivers in the state. Who knows? But I'm excited about Borah all of a sudden. And I want to get to a game and see what Rushton's about, see what Toth is about, because these are video game numbers. And so I think Ty may know a little bit more about him than me, but I do know that on our posts, on our page, he's getting a lot of shout outs from a lot of ballers from all over the valley. You know, these guys are shouting him out like, this is who he is, this is what he does. And I'm getting to know the kid now, but it sounds like he was just a little bit late to the party, fashionably late to the party. And now he's the life of the party. So I want to go see this kid play.
Heck yeah. Ty, what do you got to say about him, man?
Love it. So you brought up Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. I'm going to go a little different route with it. I'm going to go Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown with it. The amount of carries that Rushton's getting, he's averaging 43 a game over the last 2 games. He's at 85 carries, 482 yards, and 8 touchdowns in 2 games. Ridiculous. Mind-blowing numbers. And, yeah, like Mr. Toth said, like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So keep feeding this dude the ball. You touched on wanting to see these guys play. Borah and Kuna are 2 of the only teams we haven't gotten a chance to see so far this year. They face off this Thursday night at DLP. Should be a fun one. We will be. I'm going to make my way out to that. Not sure if you guys are able to, but I will be there. Going to get to see these guys live. And you know, like you said, he's late to the party, but we might have a new number 1 rusher. You know, come another week or 2 at the numbers he's putting up. So. Super excited to see what they're doing. I think they have an opportunity to pick up another win this week against Kuna. And then they have an interesting matchup at Timberline coming up. I think that'll be a telling game for both of those teams. And the way both of them are looking, you know, Timberline's 4-1. They've had a little bit easier schedule. Borah had some tough matchups early, but they're kind of coming alive. If I'm Timberline, I'm not going into that game sleeping. I'll say that much.
You know what's interesting is he's averaging over 40 carry. Like, that's insane. First off, that's a lot. That's a workhorse right there. But what's even crazier is, I've always said this, like, how do you not stop that? If you know that they're going to be handing the ball off, stack the box and stop them. That's what probably teams are probably doing. They're trying to stack the box, and he's still getting numbers. And so that's why some people would say, oh, well, he's getting those numbers because he's carrying the ball a million times. Do you know how hard it is when someone's got a game plan against you and you're still able to get carries and numbers like that? That just shows how good of an athlete he is.
To that point, I think that going into, you know, week 3, nobody was game planning against it because they hadn't been doing that. They'd been beating Toth. McCartney was getting going. You know, they were including Aiden Bolt in the passing game. So they didn't have that just run heavy attack that they have now. So I think that has caught teams off guard. But what's beautiful about that is now teams are going to stack the box, and guess who they're going to throw over the top to Mr. Toth. So,
oh boy,
exactly.
What they've done to me is very methodical, and I love it.
I love it too. And I wanted to show this here on the screen. I'm messing around with a few things. So if you guys are looking here, this is our Instagram page, Mr. Rushton right here on the screen. For those watching here on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube, by the way. Share it with your friends and family. Make sure you're on here so you can catch it all. This is Mr. Rushton. If you guys haven't followed us on Instagram, you better be following us on Instagram. This is where we're doing the majority of our coverage, which will bring me right into the next topic here, though. The defensive back over at Timberline, Mr. Reeves. Okay, sorry. I got to go back to the other page, then click on it. We'll get it right here. There we go. Mr. Reeves. Tell me about him, because this dude is putting up numbers. He's all over the field. It's one of those guys that you have to be aware of and you have to game plan against if you're the opposite team, which is huge for Eagle this week, if I'm not mistaken. So we need to make sure we're paying attention to Liam. But Ty, we'll start with you. Talk to us about what you know about Liam.
Yeah, I was live on the scene at their victory over Boise last Thursday night. He started the game off with a bang, took the opening kickoff for a touchdown, and honestly, that sucked the energy right out of the stadium for Boise, in my opinion. Timberline never looked back after that. Liam was one of those guys. I don't know if either of you play Madden, but if you're playing against another user player and you see their guy moving around on defense, for some reason you just get sucked into that guy, right? Well, for me, that's exactly what the Liam Reeves effect this past week. It seemed like he baited him into throwing his way. He was covering multiple receivers. Garrett Lavin, shout out to him. He had a great game. Ford Songer for Boise had a great game. But Reeves limited Songer's game. And, you know, he was guarding multiple people. He was tackling dudes in the backfield. Ended up with a pick and two big pass deflections. I think both were on third down. So he ended drives. He ended 3 drives himself, as well as getting points on the board. Super fun to watch. You know, his energy out there was contagious. You could see guys kind of coming around him. He had an infectious smile. He's out there having fun with it. And you could see that from the first play of the game. Afterwards, got to chat with him and Anthony Bridges and Garrett Lavin briefly. Really fun, good group of young guys. Looking forward to seeing them more going forward.
I like how you liken that to Madden and the person moving their guy. If I'm playing online and I see somebody moving their guy and it's not a defensive lineman, I'm going straight at him. It's going straight at him because I think they're going to make it. And then I typically, you know, I'm the best Madden player probably in the country, so I typically will beat that. But like I can see why people don't.
Yeah, we'll have to put that to the test, old guru. You're an old man.
So Idaho Underground Sports Network is going to be sponsoring a Madden tournament. So here's the deal. We're going to speak it into existence right now. We're going to do a Madden tournament. We got connections. $10 buy-in. You guys come in. We'll get you some shirts if you win, and you'll obviously have to beat me. Ty's not going to be there at the top when we get there, but you'll beat me and get yourself a shirt. So Ty just spoke it. We just created a business opportunity right here on the show. Shout out to Liam.
You don't know what you're getting into, guru. Let's go.
Ty's one of those guys that if you put your headphones on, you end up just taking them off because he's probably doing this like slide chirping in the headphones while you're doing it. So I'm like, hey, take the headphones off.
I'm not a loud shit talker. I'll kill you with kindness, and I sit back and let you destroy yourself.
Ty's a man, dude. Can't wait. We got a challenge here on the Idaho Underground Sports Network. All right, shout out to our hidden gems, Parker, Rushton, and Liam Reeves. You guys were awesome. Way to represent for your respective schools and for the state of Idaho, for that matter. Can't wait to see you guys play more. Now, we're going to get into the power rankings. The power rankings are always interesting, right? Like, you know, we discussed this as a team with us three, kind of like who should go where. And some weeks we're just like, okay, yeah, this should be there. And then some weeks we have a little bit more of a discussion, a conversation about it. And as things start to shape out now, Eagle kind of threw some stuff at us. And then obviously, you know, we're trying to see the real capital, like what is capital? Who are they? That kind of thing. And we've got some stuff going for you guys. So let's break down the power rankings and where we think there might be some controversy. I think that the Centennial, Borah, Kuna, Owyhee, that might be a little bit of a conversation for the bottom half. But I want to talk about the Skyview Capital. That's what a lot of people are probably going to be looking at. And I might have put Boise. I didn't have the updated ones. I apologize. I think this one's all. Hold on, Boise.
Yeah. Borah needs to be up there.
Yeah, Borah's up. Yeah, sorry. Borah is up. I'm going to replace this here in just a second, and I'll push it back across the bottom so you guys can see it. So currently for our power rankings, we've got Mountain View, Rocky, Eagle after their, that's our top three after they beat Meridian. We got Meridian, Skyview, Capital, Timberline, Borah, Boise, Centennial, Kuna, Owyhee. Now, what I was just saying, and I'll redo that here in just a second so we can make sure they're updated properly. But I want to start with Ty on the Skyview Capital discussion because some people might be feeling a little flustered here. Capital fans saying, "Hey, we lost to Meridian. Okay, whatever. Why aren't we ahead of Skyview?" That might be a discussion that comes up. Maybe it's not, but I think that might be one of those points of emphasis here with the conversation. I want to know your thoughts on why we put Skyview ahead of Capital for now, as well as Timberline at 7 with only one loss on the record.
Yeah, so for me, it's how those teams lost. And Meridian was actually the one to hand Capital and Timberline their losses. So unfortunately, or not unfortunately, we're going to see how Meridian handles Skyview this week now. So that is how we're basically judging it because Capital doesn't play Skyview, so we're not going to get that head-to-head matchup. But both of those teams play Meridian as well as Timberline. So Meridian completely dismantled both Timberline and Capital. Did they allow a single point either game? Did Timberline score on them? I can't remember.
I don't
I
think
can't remember if they got a point up there or not.
It was like one touchdown. So they didn't even allow a touchdown. Now you look at what Skyview just did against Rocky. Did they get beat? Yes. Was Rocky clearly the superior team? Yes. But AJ, you were there. You still saw the fight from these guys. They still put points on the board. Fafita still rushed for 180 yards on the defending state champion. Nobody on Capital is going to do that. Nobody on Timberline is going to do that, in my opinion. That's the difference, and that's why I think we all have Skyview above, is because when they're playing against the better teams, they're at least going to fight.
Yeah. I'm going to say something about Skyview real quick to segue off that. Skyview was down 20-0 really early in that game. In the middle of the third quarter, it was 35-21.
Okay.
In the middle. So that's kind of where we were at. They got down within the first 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 20-0. And then all of a sudden, you go 2 quarters and they've cut into the lead. They're only 2 possessions away. We've seen Fafita with a pick six. All of a sudden it's a 1 possession game. So they stayed in that game. And then they got worn out. They're thin. They really missed Aiden Martinez, but you're right. There's fight there. And honestly, Fafita is maybe the best player in the league. So I don't know. So I like the Skyview spot. Capital got worked over, and it was ugly all the way around. It wasn't just, they lost. No, they were bickering. The chemistry wasn't there. We couldn't find the leadership. There was a lot of whoa, and it was early, and then it was often. And so I think that comes into play a lot as well for me. So
I was watching that game. I was watching your coverage of it, AJ, and that's one thing that stood out to me is Skyview didn't stop. They kept playing. They fought through a pretty, rough start to that. And that shows how a team can either fold or not. And I know some people will probably have this argument with us about it's why are you looking at the common opponents? Every single game is different. Every game's different based on matchups and who's healthy and who's not. But you do have to look at common opponents. I want everyone to understand that that's kind of what you have to base some of this stuff on. If they haven't faced each other, there's no face-to-face, head-to-head. We've got to look at common opponents and how they've fared. Now, we obviously understand as fans ourselves that each game might be different. When they played a certain team, they might have been missing so-and-so and so-and-so. But, there's a lot of factors that go into it, a lot of variables. But we do have to keep that in mind with the common opponent. We got to look at them. I don't have any issues right now with the power rankings.
With what you just said, the difference is that Skyview is now the one that's been without somebody. They didn't have Aiden Martinez. Capital, full out, they didn't have Downey. That did hurt them. I'll say that. But Timberline was full strength. Downey's a difference maker, but they got so many other weapons offensively that, to me, Aiden Martinez is the biggest loss because he's playing both ways. He's, in my opinion, Luke Lucchini's out here balling. I think he's going to help kind of shut that down. He's that long, fast, deep back coverage guy. And that was a bigger loss to me than what Capital or Timberline has experienced. So, another statement for Skyview.
I'm looking forward to the Skyview Capital Timberline shakeup because
I want to throw Borah in.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Borah. You're right. Borah's starting to prove themselves a little bit. They're kind of right in that mix right there. I think we're starting to see. We've talked about it before. We've chatted about this. The SIC, typically speaking, you get good teams, great teams, elite teams, and you're starting to see some separation. Granted, it's kind of hard for me to say there are 4 legitimate teams that I think can win the conference. They can win and they can contend for a state title. I do believe that. And that's Mountain View, Rocky, Eagle, and Meridian. But there are some teams that are right there in the mix. And that second tier, which I would call it, which isn't a bad thing, would be Skyview, Capital, Timberline, and Borah. I'm curious to see how they shake out here the next couple of weeks. I mean, Timberline's got an opportunity this week to see, okay, now you're going to play on the road against an opponent that's got a lot of momentum. Let's see how you really do here. Let's see if you guys can keep it up. And if they do, then things get shook up again. That's the most exciting thing about this. But I think we've got them pretty good. If we're really looking at this and dissecting this, I believe that the power rankings we've got are pretty dang accurate. And I don't think many people can argue with it because we have valid points behind it. So there you go. I think they're pretty accurate in my opinion. So, all right, we're going to get to our weekly breakdown here because of this. like power rankings and so forth, we look at the games of the week coming up and what we've got and the excitement that's about to happen in the SIC. And each week we try to pick our game of the week. And I'm trying to pull this up here on the screen. We might not have the post yet. Okay, that's probably why. Okay. We got the game of the week at Meridian versus Skyview. Meridian's hosting Skyview. AJ, what do you think is going to happen here? You got some ties to both teams. And so I want you to break this down. You got your ties to Meridian. Obviously, we've discussed this in the past, but you also have been following Skyview to a very, very extreme degree this year. That's your boys. So talk to us about this. What do you expect to see? And we'll break it down at a deeper level from Skyview versus Meridian.
Man, yeah, I got some family ties over at Skyview and Meridian, so I'm really excited. I'm bringing the whole family. Let my kids stay up late for this one. We're all gonna go out and make a night of it. It's gonna be fun.
Sacrifice, that must be important.
Yes, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of work, but it's gonna be a lot of fun, so it's worth it. But yeah, so man, I'm really interested to see Antonio Fafita and Nathan Reynolds hit each other. Honestly, I think it's going to be an absolute sight to see. I think Meridian has a better shot to shut down Skyview than I do think Skyview has to be in this game. It's at Meridian. Like I said, I'm really stressing the loss of Aiden Martinez. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to cover Quentin Riley. I think Corbin Freeze will have a nice game. But ultimately, I think Cross has a chance to have a big game, but I also was really impressed at times with Skyview's front seven, the Fafitas, Mr. Judy, Mr. Mickelson, but they got worn down. Art Williams ended up having a big game, but they've got some playmakers over there at Skyview. They've got playmakers on both sides of the ball at Meridian. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I think Meridian ends up pulling away, wins by 2 touchdowns or so. I think Skyview will show the same thing they just showed against Rocky, and coming off a loss, those guys will be locked in. So I think it'll be a pretty good game for a while. And then I think Meridian will wear them down. They've got enough playmakers defensively. I think they're probably going to bring Quarter up in the box. And then you got William, Reynolds, Quarter, Meisner, all those guys ready to come at you. They're going to have to throw the ball. And I really want to see Max Cuthbert take the next step. I know Aiden Martinez not being there is a big ouch. You've got other guys. You've got Pennington. You've got Camden Young. Both those guys are top 20 receivers. Dallas Kern's a ball player.
Get him involved.
Yes, you've got playmakers on that side of the ball. I want to see Cuthbert throw the ball 25, 30 times and just cut loose. And against Rocky, he kind of had happy feet. I understand Rocky's defense is what it is. Meridian's defense is what it is. There needs to be progression there if they're going to have a chance to win this game and be in this game late. And I think he can do it. I've read a lot of good things about him. I've heard a lot of good things. I've seen him play. He's very efficient. He needs to be more than just efficient this week if they're going to be in this game. And I think Meridian, coming off the loss they came off of, I think we're going to really see who they are, and I think they're going to come out with a vengeance. I think Skyview's tough enough to withstand that early. I don't think it's going to last the entire game, but we'll see. I'm excited about this one. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of good football players, a lot of big hits, I think.
Ooh, and you're going to be there, and Ty will be there as well. So, Ty, tell us what you're excited about for Meridian Skyview.
Yeah, I mean, AJ touched on a lot of it. I think Max does need to take that next step. He's been one of the most efficient quarterbacks. He manages the game super well. He does have weapons. We've seen it firsthand, though. Some of his deep strikes, his weapons haven't come up big for him. So he's taken some shots. He needs to keep doing that and trust in his receivers. They're talented guys. They're going to make plays for him. They're young receivers. That happens, right? Keep taking those shots. He got Pennington on the outside, Camden Young, and like I just touched on, Dallas Kern is a big body boy that needs to get the dang ball. So get him out there. I want to see Dallas Kern, him match up against Ryan Quarter. There's some really good one-on-one matchups. I've liked what I've seen from Skyview's front seven as well. Meridian's O-line has been tough. That's going to be a fun thing to watch. Ultimately, I agree with you, though. I think this is a game where both teams are going to come back, looking for a win. But Meridian just a little bit more well-rounded for me. They have the depth. Hopefully we see a full Malakai Martinez game. We touched on it. Zeke is not a drop-off. But having two quarterbacks, it doesn't matter if it's because someone's hurt, because you're trying different looks. It just throws things off. You need that one guy in there leading the huddle, leading the team, and just taking care of business. And so hopefully we see Malakai all 4 quarters this week, and we get to see what Meridian is all about.
What I'm excited for on this one, you guys pretty much covered it all. But I am excited to see if Meridian plays with a sense of urgency. Their 2 losses are actually brutal losses in regards to the rankings and so forth. And they got to play with a sense of urgency. They don't have time to piss and moan and say, hey, like, feel sorry for ourselves. Like, we've got to figure this out. And they've got to figure it out quick. They are at home, so it's going to be a good opportunity for them. Skyview's got a tough one there. That's a tough ask. You're going Rocky to Meridian, boom, boom, just like that. Very tough ask.
I think they have Eagle next week too, or Eagle or Mountain View, somebody tough.
They got a tough one.
And then they got Timberline on Thursday Night Football last week of the season at Timberline. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna find out.
Right now.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that separation we continue to talk about. Right? Hey, there's top 4, and then there's good teams, and then I think we will see that. I think it'll be maybe middle of the 3rd quarter where it really starts to happen, and that's when we're gonna, I think, look at each other and be like, you can see the difference from why they're a top 4 and why they're a middle 4. But these Skyview kids are tough as dogs, and there is a shot that this may be a game all the way through. And Skyview's got some different cats over there, man. So it's gonna be a fun one.
They're definitely up for the task, the challenge. They're not going to shy away from it. Skyview's not scared of anybody. They're not going to come and play scared by any means. I do think Meridian has the experience that they need. But going back to Malakai playing a full 4 quarters, the leadership, the experience, I think people underestimate how important that is when the game gets tough. When you have leadership in the huddle and on the sideline, that is super important. We talked about that 2 weeks ago about Capital's like lack of leadership on the sideline during when they're facing adversity. Well, the same goes for Meridian. You got to have that leadership in the huddle when it's, nerves are going, execution's not happening, people are getting pissed at each other. You got to have someone to rally the troops and say, okay, here's how we weather the storm. So I think that's going to be vitally important for Meridian to see, Malakai coming in there. So, and playing a full 4 quarters. We're going to be covering that one for you. You guys should see AJ and Ty on site at Meridian and Skyview. They're covering the game for you. Now, we're going to give you guys our weekly breakdown of the games. I'll start with my picks. This is where I got to start making up some ground because I'm behind. The guys are giving me crap for it. I'm supposed to be the guru, but I am far from it. Missing all my picks. But the problem is I don't know if we're going to have any different picks this week. Like, that's the thing. I think we're pretty much all in line with everything. So we'll see. We'll see. So I'm going to go down the line for myself. Give you guys my picks. I'm taking Meridian over Skyview. So Meridian wins this one. I think they respond well. In fact, I think they win by 2 touchdowns. I think that they're going to come out there and make a statement. They might be leading by 3 the majority of the game. I think Skyview fights tough, like AJ said, but I do not think they actually I think Meridian pulls away from them. They win by 2 touchdowns. Rocky over Owyhee. I'm just kidding. I'm taking Rocky on that one. Owyhee is still trying to figure themselves out. I think they've had some opportunities to face some of the opponents that I thought they could have potentially won against, but Rocky's they're finding a stride right now. It doesn't matter who they're playing, but Owyhee's definitely not got the defense to match with Rocky's powerhouse offense. So Mountain View at Centennial, I think Mountain View continues to run through. I think Centennial is broke. I'm just going to say that. I think they got excited about a win at the beginning of the season. They started chirping, and then they got shown. So I think Mountain View continues their roll. Capital at Boise. I took a second here to think about this one. So obviously they're familiar with the stadium. They both are playing at home basically, but Capital and Boise, I almost was about to pick Boise on this one because my heart tells me like maybe Boise's going to find a rhythm here and beat a good school. But I think Capital has found themselves. I think they're more talented on both sides of the ball than Boise. I think they play a complete game. I think Capital wins by 2 touchdowns or more on that one as well. But here's the thing. Somebody brought it up to this. I think it was might have been Braden over at Mountain View who was talking about Capital's. He made a good point. A lot of Capital's best players play on both sides of the ball. And that is one of the things to keep in mind later on in the season. Just keep an eye on that. Some of the teams are the similar way, but Capital has a lot of guys who play both ways. And when you get later on in the season, How does that affect you when you're getting a lot of mileage on those tires, essentially? So keep that in mind. I don't think that's going to affect them this week necessarily, but keep that in mind. Timberline at Eagle. I almost was going to pick an upset here too with T-Line, but I just can't do it. I don't want to fall further behind, so I'm making a business decision here. It's a business decision. I'm going with Eagle. I've got to stay at least in the pack with you guys. I'm going with Eagle. I think Eagle's just on a roll right now. They look better than Mountain View when they played them 2 weeks ago, in my opinion. Didn't come out with a victory, but they obviously found a way to beat Meridian. So I think Eagle continues their stride, and they keep that momentum rolling. So those are my picks. Who's next? AJ.
All right. Yeah. I'll jump on it. I'll have fun with it. All right. So let's start. I'll wait to do the game of the week. Let's start Owyhee Rocky. There's not much to talk about here. I watched Rocky. I want to touch on this before I don't have a chance to. I went and watched Rocky play at Skyview. Talked about it a little bit. Rocky Mountain is scary. They're very scary. They have a lot of weapons, a lot of dudes. I mean, their sideline looks different than any other sideline in the SIC. That's what I'll say. Mason Jacobson blew me away. I think he had 9-10 tackles. He is a next level football player. He is a big bad boy, and he is all over the place. I'm gonna start calling Gage Tanner the landmine, because anytime you get close to him, he blows you up. I mean, I'm telling you, he played very well. And then that secondary with Micah Clyde and Wilkie, and then you got Caden Kelly in the middle. Like, I just keep naming guys, and I could keep going. Then Lucchini and Hanchett. CJ Jacobson's not even back yet. I mean, Tegan Sweeney looked really confident and really good. I think he's probably always known he's a high IQ guy, but he's just like, okay, my guy's better, go get it. And some people can't do that. So hat off to Tegan Sweeney for trusting his guys, knowing what he's got. For me, he's getting better and better and better, and good for him. Art Williams popped off finally, I think, is what we were waiting for him to do. He dominated the game on the ground, but this is not going to be a game against Owyhee. This is going to be a blowout. It'll be a 40 to 50-point game, depending on the statement Rocky wants to make, right? Because this will be a rivalry at some point down the road. But yeah, Rocky Mountain was really impressive. Shout out to them. And Jacobson said he's going to be back this week, so not going to be good for Owyhee on that front as well. But yeah, if they get healthy, I don't know if they lose again this season. I'm going to say that. Let's see. Centennial and Mountain View. Guru, you said it. Centennial, they thought they were about that life. They're not about that life. They got some work to do. This is going to be a blowout as well. It's going to be interesting to see if Quintez Evans can stay in the rushing race, because they get up big and they rest him, which I think they should. He was running the show for the first couple of weeks. And now all of a sudden, they're blowing teams out, and he's not getting as many carries, as many numbers. He may be the best back in the league, but he's starting to kind of fall away. Does that happen again? Do they get him his touches early? We'll see. I'm interested to see that. Then we got Boise and Capital. I think this is another of those tier separation games. Could be a game early. I don't think Capital is going to lose this game. I think they end up winning by 14. If it's a 7 to 14 point game, I won't be surprised. They could blow them out as well, because Boise has trouble stopping people, and Capital, Downey's back, like you said, Ty. Avery Downey he's a monster. He's very good. And so I think Capital in that game by a couple touchdowns. I think Boise wins a game like that. We thought Boise would beat somebody at some point. Maybe this is the game it happens. But I'm going Capital. Timberline, Eagle. I think Eagle has trouble stopping the run. We saw it with Cross as well. We've seen it pretty much every game. Can Markham and Zenner take advantage of that and keep this a game? It's going to be interesting. Lavin and Bridges, those guys need to step up and play well also. I like Eagle secondary. I still am a little wary of their run defense. So that's what Timberline likes to do. Can Timberline take advantage of that and make it a game? I don't think, because it's at Eagle, I don't think it's going to be a game by the end of the third quarter. I think it could be a close one, 21-14 going into half or something like that. but I think Eagle wins this game by 2-3 touchdowns. And then game of the week, Skyview Meridian, kind of already let everyone know. I think Meridian pulls away. I think this could be a game, though. I think this could come down. Like, we could look at each other, tie middle of the fourth quarter, and be like, Skyview's got a shot. You know, how tough are they? So it's going to be a fun one. I got Meridian in this game, and I think they end up pulling away late and get back on the right track. So those are mine.
Doesn't look like I'm going to make up any ground on AJ. Ty, what about you, man?
You know, just spoiler alert, got all the same picks, but I do want to touch on a couple games here. So Rocky's going to beat Hawaii by 60 on Friday. But what's fun about that for me is to think, you know, 5-10 years in the future when this is a rivalry and they're like, hey, remember when Rocky stomped us by 60? Let's rewrite that. So I'm excited for that in the future. I'm looking big, long-term here, big picture. But Hawaii's going to have a hard time this year with every given opponent, especially against the defending state champ, who ultimately is still my front runner to repeat. So Mountain View Centennial is struggling. Everyone needs to keep in mind new coaching staff, new system. I think it's their second year with the program, Coach Green. This is a tough, hard-nosed dude. They're going to get it going, right? It's not going to be this year, might not be next year, but I like kind of like Boise's staff. They got a younger staff in there, football minds, you know, hard-nosed, gridiron guys. They're going to get it worked out, but they're not going to this week. Capital Boise, the thing about that, the match. So you talked about matchups, right? Capital's strength defensively, probably their D-line. Boise's weakness, glaring weakness, mind you, is their offensive line. Poor Big Red One back there, Braden Anderson, dude is constantly under pressure. You know, he has some mobility, not enough to escape what's coming at him each and every game. So Capital rolls in that one for me. Their high-powered offense against Boise's, you know, lackluster secondary in particular. They're gonna have a hard time. I got Capital by at least 21 in that one. Timberline and Eagle. I don't think that Timberline is able to hang with Eagle. I think once Liam Reeves is coming off a big game, he's going to need to have another big game because I think Eagle is going to start to let it rip. I've wanted to see it for 4 weeks now, but I think this is going to be the one. Back-to-back weeks at home, you know, fresh off a huge victory, go sling it. Go open up the offense. Give Roy Hull that opportunity to not get the box stacked on him. He's not that electric playmaker back there that Martino or Makita was. He's going to go, you know, run up the middle for 4 or 5 yards like Cross does. So he needs the offense to open it up, give him some space. They need to continue to become, you know, a double-edged sword, which they have the potential to do so. Hopefully we see Martino back. Even without him, I got Mustangs by 21 in that one also. Meridian, Skyview, I think we're all in accordance. I'm going Warriors by 14.
Yeesh.
So
no
yeah, you're
ground
not
being
making
made.
any ground this week.
Yeah,
AJ,
I'm not making any ground. I did want to say something though. First off, shout out to Ty's cat, made another appearance in the episode, and then shout out to my 18-month-old kid who fell out of his crib right behind me, as you could probably hear, and he was screaming. Maybe he didn't, but he was screaming at the top of his lungs. He fell out of his crib because he tried to climb out while Ty was talking. So yeah, that was fun. It's always fun recording when we got stuff going on. Here's the thing. You said Hawaii. I loved how you mentioned Hawaii Rocky long-term, very similar to Rocky Meridian long-term, and very similar to Meridian Mountain View back in the day when Mountain View was first made. That was when I was in high school, and Mountain View was my sophomore year. It opened up, and that's what was like this big rivalry, and they had all the athletes because they stole everybody from us. Long-term, it kind of builds out to like this thing. Rocky Meridian's a similar way. Rocky Hawaii, he's going to be a similar way. I love like looking at these things long-term, like Ty said. So shout out to you for bringing that up. That's going to be pretty cool. Storylines to be written later on. There was one other thing I wanted to touch base on that you had mentioned, and I can't remember now, so I'm not going to spiel on that. But looks like we all have the same picks. We will pause this to go to the lightning round with Austin Bolt. As you guys have seen, he's fresh off a victory against Utah State, which they needed to have. Boise State's pissing me off this year immensely, but luckily we got a boy over there who can work with us here at Idaho Underground Sports. So we'll take it away for Austin's picks to see if he makes up any ground or if he chooses to change stuff up on us. So here we go.
Hey guys, for my weekly picks, I got Borah versus Kuna. I'm taking Borah all the way. Come on. I got Skyview versus Meridian. I'm taking Meridian. I got Hawaii versus Rocky. I'm going Rocky. We got Mountain View versus Centennial. I'm going Mountain View. Capital versus Boise. I'm going Capital. And then Timberline versus Eagle. I'm going Eagle.
All right. There you have it. From Austin Bolt. You got to hear his picks. Got to hear our picks.
Surprise. You picked Borah.
Yeah. Whoa. Dude, call me a homer. You call me a homer at the beginning of the show because I picked Meridian over Eagle. Okay.
You know what? I love it. I absolutely love it.
Let's give a shout out to Austin. Why don't we throw him under the bus? Because he's a collegiate athlete and we don't want to hurt his feelings or something? Come on now. All right, guys. So, again, we appreciate everybody for joining us for Gem Session. We hope you guys enjoy it. If you guys have any questions or suggestions for us, please hit us up on Instagram. Go follow us at Idaho Underground Sports on Instagram. That's where we do the majority of our, conversations, our majority of our engagement with the fan base. Hit us up, let us know. And what I am proposing to these guys here is maybe on a Friday night before we head out to the games, we'll hit up some of those restaurants you guys posted about in the giveaway. You guys posted restaurants, your favorite food and whatnot. Maybe we'll do a little pregame tailgate with Idaho Underground Sports. One of these days we'll give a little bit of a feedback on the food, and we'll chat with you guys, and you guys can catch up with us before we head out to the games. Maybe we'll do that one of these days and get some exposure to some of those local companies that deserve it. So anyways, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to the channel. This is Gym Session from GTG, EBC, and BST. We'll see you next time.